Hey everyone! So, we know that color is important in our photographs. They can communicate so much. But have you ever used color grading? Do you know what color grading is? Well, let's get into it. So, what is color grading? Color grading is when you change the colors creatively to affect the communication of an image. This is different from color correction. We talked about white balance and color correction a couple weeks ago, and white balance is really used to correct color to match the lighting conditions. Now, we also looked at how white balance can be used creatively, such as making something more yellow to feel happier. This is color grading. So, why is color grading important? As creatives, color theory is applied to pretty much everything we do. So, color grading can be used to communicate things such as mood, character, time, and location. A lot of times, big creative projects where you're working with a big team starts with trying to figure out what the colors are going to be used, what kind of color grading is going to be applied. In fact, in an article that you're going to read later on in this lecture time, Mike Riggs of Creative Block says, considering a color look for a creative project before production is an essential part of any process. So let me show you some examples of what I mean by mood, character, time, and location. So first off, we have mood. Here's a photo that I took in Yosemite, and this is the original shot. It was overcast. There's still some yellows and such going on in there too. But by adding this really dramatic blue color grading, it gives it a whole different feeling. For me, it was overcast, so that was already feeling kind of like a sad type of feeling. But when this person stood here on this little ledge thing, she has this kind of sad look to her. So by adding this blue, it makes this feeling even more sad, right? So, and that's just a very basic way of color grading. A lot of color grading has to do with adding color in both the highlights and in the shadow areas of an image. So let's look at some more. Okay, so pretty much everyone knows who the Joker is, and the colors they use for the Joker in general, and then for the color grading, helps communicate more about the character. So the use of green tinted grays has a very sickly or uneasy feeling to it. You'll also notice that whenever there's mental hospitals, they usually add this green look to it. A lot of times with corporate stuff too, if there's like some kind of commentary on the corporate world, they'll add like a greenish tint to the images or the movie. Now, you can also notice that, and this happens a lot throughout this movie. Next time you watch it, pay attention to the pops of red. Red can often signify danger. And so whenever we have the Joker in a scene, not only are his lips red, because that comes with the whole clown aspect of it, but they also add pops of red to show danger. And this color palette underneath is something similar that a lot of creatives would use. They would come up with this idea with these different colors to work with, and then the whole team would be part of the process of applying these colors, whether it be in the wardrobe, in the makeup, and then in the overall color grading. Okay, another really great way to use color grading is to show time. So in this example, we have, this is all from the show That 70s Show, and these are all the same characters, but throughout the series, whenever they show them, they do it by using color grading. So first off, whenever they show them as younger, they do have different actors, but they add this more of a yellowy tint to it, and it has kind of a nostalgia type of feel. This is also used that yellow, blues, and greens all together are often used to show a 70s type of look in general, not just in the show, but in many different images as well. Now, here we have Kitty and Red as young adults, but they're using the same actors. So in order to signal to the audience that this is at a different time, they always put them in black and white. All right. So I'm going to keep going. And I do realize that I'm using a lot of TV and movie references here. And it's really because, it's good to see the characters of a show with different types of color grading all together. That doesn't mean we can't use it in our photos. In fact, you're going to be using it in this week's assignment. So for this example, this is from Game of Thrones, and there's many different locations in this series, and it can get really confusing. So one of the ways that they show that, they're changing locations is through color grading. They also do it in other ways, such as how they're dressed and such, their hairstyles. But you'll notice right off the bat that this has a very blue tint to it, and this is also supposed to be in the north in a cold area. Whereas this has more of an orange tint or yellow tint to it, and this is supposed to be in the south, which is supposed to be a summery and warmer place. And you might be thinking, duh, this is obvious. Well, pay attention to movies and such, and images in general. When you're looking at them, you'll start to notice that this happens more and more. Well, it happens pretty much on everything. All right, so next, here's a basic psychology chart, and I added this so you guys can, when it comes to your project, you're going to pick colors based on color psychology in order to affect the communication of your image. So very quickly, let's just scroll through this. So we have red, passion, bold, energy, desire. Like I said earlier, it also connotes danger. And what's really cool is we also have, this chart has some of the different brands that use this as well. Okay, so we have orange, impulse, clarity, motivation. Yellow, cheerful, fun, hope. Green, wealth, nature, fertility, harmony. Blue, conservative, wisdom, calm, idealistic, responsible. Violet, royalty, wealth, nobility, luxury. And what's kind of interesting about this, these different adjectives for violet is that this is actually based in a historical sense, because way back in the day, violet and, violet in particular was really hard to create when it came to garments. They had to use very specific dyes that were hard to get a hold of, and so only the most wealthy could really afford to get anything that was violet or purple. So that has carried on throughout the ages, and we still have this idea that violet means these things. All right, so who uses color grading? You may not have realized it, but we see images with color grading all of the time. Now, this is another quote from Mike Griggs, and he says, Pixar, one of the masters of storytelling, creates a range of color scripts before production commences, which indicates the color palette that will be used for each scene. This ensures that the color is helping to tell the story rather than fighting against it. Wow, that's the power of color. Okay, guys, so I want you guys to read this article here about color grading, and I also want you to read this article about color in film and the rules of color theory. It has some really great examples that will really help you see the different types of color combinations and how they're applied and what they communicate. And once you're done with all that, make sure that you're checking out the study guide questions, because this is going to be what's going to be on your test. All right, guys, so let's get to it.